You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
And away we go for the Friday edition of Leafs Morning Take. It is October 25th, and I had to look outside before starting this show, Rosie. The sky, in fact, is not falling in Toronto, man. It is incredible how much different things look in this market since Monday, dude. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. Yeah, I mean, what a whirlwind of a week, right? From the fans' perspective, it's I mean, you could blame the fans and their attitude and their yo-yo mentality of getting high and getting low, or you could blame the team. I mean, who else is playing that drastically different styles and levels of hockey? I mean, it's got to be a bit of both. But how was it from your perspective being in the building last night?
Well, we're going to jump into things, but to me, it feels like the Leafs thought they won the Stanley Cup on Prime Monday Night Hockey when they beat the Tampa Bay Lightning, because this is a tale of two different teams. From a vibe check point of view, I can't crap on the fans last night. There wasn't much to cheer for, man. I got in the building right away. St. Louis scores. Woll makes his return and all that stuff, but like there was no energy in that building. But I think for once, I felt like it was the product on the ice that was sucking the life out of everybody else in the building. I don't know if you felt the same way watching on TV.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's again the big buildup and everyone saying, "Holy smokes!" Like it wasn't just a win. Like if you watch the game and you follow the team, it was everyone's looking at each other, going, "Is this feel different or what?" And they had this identity that was all commitment from everybody and a convincing win against a legit opponent. All right, let's rock. Like, are we going to start doing this? Are we going to start putting these building blocks together? You could blame Tuesday's night in Columbus on travel or whatever. Disappointing. It happens. Hey, okay, give them a pass. Watch the response on Thursday. Chiefs team's coming into town. They're not happy with what happened on Tuesday. Wait till they get, a hold of these St. Louis Blues. And I put a good chunk of dough trying to get back the money that I lost the previous or that week on their first period. I thought they were going to come out absolutely buzzing, and nothing, man, like nothing. And all back to the bad habits they've had in the past where they're not playing good hockey. They're getting shellacked. The fans are pissed off. All back to that stuff. Back to that stuff. And it starts with the big boys. So, yeah, nothing to be excited about if you're in that building. What are you going to – they have trouble getting on their feet, being loud in the first place. You think they're going to get loud and be on their feet for that kind of performance?
No, you're totally right. We're going to dissect everything on today's podcast. A couple things I want to bring to the table. What happened to Thursday nights in Toronto? I tried to let loose a bit, peel one off, take a little bit of a peek on King Street West. We tried our best to fire up. There's nothing cooking on Thursday nights in Toronto anymore, man. It's my biggest gripe with the nightlife. 10 years ago, Thursday nights were popping off. I'm sure in your days, Thursday nights were the nights to be out. Now it's just like dead city, man.
Yeah, it was Thursday Thompson Hotel.
Dude, everything. Like I used to rip the
spots.
city 10 years ago on Thursday nights. Now, like you're it's like it's a pub crawl, man. It's insane to me.
Do you just not know the spots in your elderly years, and all the kids are just
No.
ripping it up at some spot you're not aware of?
No, I know all the spots, man. I hit everything last night. I went to Two Cats, Laissez-Faire, Parlor, man. I poked around. I could tell you the other thing I was getting to, the St. Louis Blues had the green light special. I won't name names, but I saw a variety of different blues painting the town last night, man. But good on them. They played well.
Yeah, why not, man? It's part of being in the show. You get to visit every city in the National Hockey League, and when the schedule permits, you stay overnight. You don't have to run to the airport and jump on a plane and get ready for the next place, whatever's going on today, probably light practice, but you go into the room after a win like that on the road in Toronto. Everyone's happy, everyone's buzzing, no one's pissed off, and you get a little bit of a green light to go check out the town. And when you're in the city like Toronto, most guys in their prime, young guys, want to go out, take advantage. So that's good to see. But yeah, I don't really understand why big city like Toronto, why you can't find something to happen. Like you say, you were looking for a place to happen and no dice, eh?
Bewildering, dude. Tammy makes a good point. Inflation. That's an awesome point, Tammy, because I barely got after last night and I still spent $80. It was just me and my buddy, bought a couple rounds, $80 later, and it was fine, but I called it around like 1:30. The other thing I'll bring up, I ran into Cam Janssen, who we've interviewed on this podcast, an absolute legend, a beauty, played for the Blues, played for the New Jersey Devils. And he made a really interesting comment to me. He's like, Rosie strikes me as a type of guy I would love to hang out with. Thought it was
Yeah,
interesting.
boy.
And I said, hell yeah.
Yeah, there's I don't know, guy that did his job that played in his era. There's probably a lot of commonalities there. I'm sure we could bury a few and have some laughs and cut loose a little bit. But I got to get to To first, baby. I guess. What was he doing in town? Just checking out the Blues, right?
No, he works for the Blues. He's doing the radio broadcast,
That's
man.
right.
So
That's
him and
right.
the legend Chris Kerber himself, the radio voice of the St. Louis Blues, were having a couple cocktails and some food after the game, and I randomly bumped into them. So they send their best. It was cool to be back at the arena. We'll jump into that, but initially, I want to get your thoughts on the so the Four Nations Face-Off tournament is coming up in February. Nothing solidified just yet, but I believe you and I are going to be on location in Montreal for that tournament. But they released the jerseys. I
Mhm.
wanted to get your breakdown of specifically Team USA and the Canadian one, Rosie.
Yeah, I'm not a big like I don't have strong opinions on jersey. Like, I have like I saw something on Instagram and I had the jerseys going back to like Nagano and I was like, I don't like some people are like, I hate this one. I'm in love with that one. I'm like, they're all pretty decent, but it's hard to reinvent the wheel so many times over. How many times can you make a jersey that has to do with a maple leaf in Canada? There's red, white, and black involved. Um, but I think I like them. I saw a tweet of yours saying if they took the Canada out of the middle, it would be really badass. And I kind of like took a pen and went, yeah, that would look cool. So, and the USA is just plain as could be. Yeah, I think you take that Canada. I don't like the font on the Canada. It looks kind of Mickey
Goofy.
Mousey, kind of
Yeah.
like too soft. So toughen that up a little bit. But the design's cool. The maple leaf looks really cool. But I think I agree with you with that Canada could be gone and it would look really badass. But the USA, man, they did not put a lot of thought, or maybe they want. I like simple, but that's just kind of plain to me.
Every time I see jerseys, I'm right there with you. It's all about money, and that's why we see every year there's 17 new jerseys for every team that come out. I always wonder who the hell is in charge of these projects to create these
Yeah.
uniforms. And on top of that, you look at those four specific ones. The 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 Swedish ones are like the Montreal Canadiens, man. They never change.
Huh.
And sometimes I got no problem with that. Like there's a bit of a difference in the variation, but like it's very subtle. Like I don't need to see big time change in the Maple Leafs uniform. We haven't really seen that a lot over the years, but I like how pure Sweden's is. Like they barely change it, man.
Well, what do you do, right? Their
Yeah.
flag is what it is. They got those kind of crowns on there, which is Sweden. But to go away from that, like, what do you go to? I don't really know what. Ours is the maple leaf. Um, the states has, USA. They have stars. They have stripes, red, white, blue. You can do a few different things. But yeah, I don't know how many things are you going to do. And I'm sure they hire a graphic designer or something to come up with a few different mock-ups, and the executives pick which one they like. But ultimately, I don't. I think it's pretty hard to miss. I think it's pretty hard to screw it up. I don't think, with international play representing your country, they're going to do anything wild and crazy and put flames and skulls or some bullshit on anything. So it's kind of hard to screw up. But yeah, I mean, it's just preference. If you like this one a little more than the other one, you go back to the Gretzky one with the classic Hockey Canada logo. Is kind of cool. They've gotten away from that and they're just going pure maple leaf. But like I said, I don't get too excited either way. I think they all look pretty solid. Hard to know.
2010, man. That's the one that'll be forever ingrained in my mind. That was a beautiful jersey. I had a Crosby one.
Oh, the golden goal, man. Pretty
Yeah.
sweet, pretty sweet. Where were you when that happened? Another feather in
Um,
Crosby's cap, man.
yeah, man. It's funny. It's like one of those where were you moments. I was at a bar watching with some buddies in like Burlington, Ontario, man. That was a wild game because the States came back and tied it, right?
Yeah, I was playing a game in the American Hockey League and we delayed it to watch that game and the
That's
building
sick.
filled up in Hamilton at the Cops Coliseum and the building filled up and it was on the Jumbotron. So we were watching it from the bench live, listening to the crowd reaction. It was very cool. And just the whole premise of that, like we're hosting the Olympics. We're going for the record of the most gold medals by a host country in history, which it's pretty impressive. And we thought we had it locked up with the women's curling. because they were kind of a shoo-in, but they blew it and they lost. So
Mhm.
now we're going, oh my God, it's all comes down to hockey. And then it goes into overtime, and we're like, we might not win this. We might lose the record. It's at home. This would be devastating. And it's just like one of those, stories where everything perfectly falls into place. It was absolutely beautiful. Our star, the shining beacon of Canadian hockey, Sidney Crosby at the time, buries the overtime winner to beat the States, to get the record, to win the gold medal at home, to close out the Olympics. It was just that's why it was one of those where were you moments. The whole country was watching. It was a pretty spectacular time in Canadian hockey history.
Looking forward to the Four Nations face-off, albeit I think it's fascinating. They got to announce the roster by December 2nd. Like, what if a guy is just having the worst season imaginable? For like example, like Brad Marchand was one of the initial six, man, but like he had like I think three different surgeries over the summer. Boston's off to a really slow start. The Leafs are going to see them on Saturday night. It makes the decision-making process that much more tougher. Like, look at Zach Hyman. I think we could both agree he's probably a shoo-in before the season started, but now they're calling him 007. He's got no points in 7 games.
Weird, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah, it reminds me of the Ryder Cup in golf, right? There's
sure.
guys that have that have that prestige level, and they have that caliber where they're kind of on this level just with their name. But if they're not playing good at the time, especially with golf, it's so volatile. You can lose your game at the drop of a hat. Do you go with him and just say no, his pedigree is what we want and he'll be ready when the time comes? Or do you just go with the hottest hand at the time? It's tough, man. So yeah, I wouldn't want to be in charge of picking it, but you'd ultimately want the guys to make it easy and the cream to rise to the top. And it's just easy. Here our best guys are. They're lighting it up. Easy peasy. Let's pick these guys. But like you say, when guys are struggling and it's not going the way that a guy wants, do you leave him off? And then it's a big, it's a big controversy. Do you put a guy on when he's not hot? It's
True.
tough. So we'll see where they land, but I don't think there's going to be too many surprises. Interesting. Who's picking the teams and stuff? I haven't dove in enough to really get down to the nitty gritty of who's running that whole thing.
So I believe Doug Armstrong is the GM. Of course, the Blues were in town. John Cooper is the head coach. I know Kyle Dubas is
Right.
part of the staff. So
Huh.
those are like sort of the main components. Doug Armstrong, John Cooper. But I'm always so fascinating what comprises, going into it and putting into a team, what they want to put together, how they want it to look, what kind of players. There's always like debates. Like if you recall, like 10 years ago, Marty St. Louis, Chris Kunitz back in the day, the Malpys, the Drapers. What kind of roster do they want to bring? Like even, shifting it to the Leafs focus, like Mitch Marner, is he going to be on the team? Like John Tavares, unlikely at this point in his career. Morgan Riley, like there's a lot more question marks where there's some fringe guys. And ultimately with Canada, like who the hell's playing goal? I guess it's going to be Jordan Binnington, who I thought was great last night.
Yeah, I guess it's tough. And my thing is like, are you just going to throw the guys with the most points all on the
True.
roster? Or are you going to build a hockey team conducive to, playing structurally sound hockey, energy hockey? Are you going to have different, are you going to have a power forward line? Are you going to have an energy line? Are you just going to throw all the best players? Because that doesn't work sometimes. Guys
No.
are getting put in roles. Who's getting all the ice time? Um, but I mean, it's going to be heavily weighted towards, an all-star style of team. But do you mix in some of those guys that can go retrieve pucks and maybe wear a team down? And, is there physicality involved? And like, what kind of hockey are you trying to play? So be interesting to see what the executives put together.
Tell you what, if I see William Nylander hitting people, I'm going to lose my mind again, right? We saw that in the World Championship a couple years ago. It's like, where's that with the Toronto Maple Leafs? Maxentius Decimus, thank you so much for the super chat. Game was over after the third Blues goal. Lazy. We're going to get to the game recap, but I want to promote our interview for today. Max Kerman of the Arkells is coming up, Rosie.
Yeah, second time at least he's been on. He's
Yep.
he's a Leafs fan, and yeah, that band, the Arkells, man, they have been around for a little while, and they are strong, and they're rolling, and they're on tour right now. I'm gonna go see him on the 2nd, so that's pretty exciting. And yeah, he likes the Leafs, and all-time nice guy too. So look forward to that.
Darren McNeil writes in, Willie was hitting last night. Okay.
Was he?
So get those super chats in at the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. If you run a restaurant, you're too busy for this ad. You're thinking about how to get more orders flowing and new locations opening. You need to get more customers and keep them coming back. So really, you're already thinking about Square, because Square Restaurant Tech helps more than 400,000 restaurants do all those things and more. So when you're thinking about your restaurant, think bigger and think Square. Go to square.ca to see why Square is big in restaurants. So the Maple Leafs lay another egg, this time at Scotiabank Arena. And as I documented on social media, we saw a jersey hit the ice late in the third period, and we saw some boo birds, Rosie. What a night for me.
Yeah, man. Where do you start? It's we talk about Jekyll and Hyde. Like, how could you be more of a yo-yo than your Monday performance compared to your Tuesday performance and Thursday performance? It's a thing where, okay, they dropped the ball on Tuesday. We'll give them a pass. Watch the response. They should be able to feel the difference from their Monday night game against Tampa. What's the difference between that and their Tuesday night game against Columbus? They should be able to feel the difference. Berube will highlight the difference, and they should be able to recognize what's right, what's wrong, what it feels like, and then channel that good hockey and those good starts and commitment to detail. And it it was back to the looping and shooting and soft, fancy type of play that blows up in their face. It just turns into turnovers. It's kind of lackadaisical. They try to pass rink wide through a guy's triangle, through the guy's stick. Like, what are you doing? Like, what? Why would you go when things are bad? You simplify and you move your bloody feet and you go straight line, what Berube calls north-south hockey, and you get back to work. And they decide to stop moving their feet, do this frickin' drives me nuts. I'm gonna say words that are gonna get me in trouble here. It's this fancy little
You're allowed to
pussy
swear.
hockey of, oh, little fancy little, let me have a little spot pass through that guy's legs. Oh, it blew up in my face. Let me do a big circle back to my end. It's friggin' tedious to watch. And I can't believe, like, Craig might have to snap here. Like, what are the big boys doing? You're the leaders. Like, the formula. You know what works. Are you fucking kidding me? You've seen this movie before. You show up with that and then continually do the dog shit that gets you in trouble with the turnovers and the lazy crap and it's like a street hockey kind of shinny game where you're kind of like just kind of out for a twirl. You got straight legs, and let me just see if I can thread this needle. It's all bullshit, man, and it doesn't work. And to me, it's like, to do that with Craig Berube and trying to reinvent this team and rectify what's happened in the past. I can't believe they came up with two of those and did nothing to rectify it. It's not a good look. It's not the end of the world, but this team's obviously not where we hoped they were.
It's the classic inconsistent Maple Leafs. Because again, man, I was talking to people in the press box last night, like Monday night. I'm not kidding. That was the best I thought the Leafs have looked in like 10 years. Like one of the
I know.
best performance I've seen with these eyes in the last 10 years. And to come out the way they have against Columbus and now the St. Louis Blues, all I could think about watching that game, where's the forecheck? Where's the physicality? Everybody and their mother knows Jordan Binnington is a snap show. Did they make that guy's life difficult? Like, I know he made 40 saves in the game, but everything was from distance. Like, everything was perimeter. It's like they forgot how they played the first 6 games of the season. They resorted back to Sheldon Keefe's Maple Leafs. Like, it's so bizarre. Again, when you think about where this team was, how high this city was after Monday night's game to where we're at right now, 5 days later. It's insane.
I know, and that's like, again, I saw you tweet like, everyone like, relax, right? And I get that, and I'm on board with that, and that makes sense. It's early, and there's lots of time, and teams are gonna, look at the other teams that are struggling. Look at like the Nashvilles and Colorados and Edmontons and Boston. Like, there's other teams struggling out there, but the kicker with the Leafs is that we saw that formula. Like you said, they didn't just win the game. They played the kind of hockey where everyone's begging them to play, where everyone knows if they play that way, they could do something special. And they did it, they proved it, and they showed it. And it was like, does Craig have these guys on track? Do they finally see the light? Do they understand the level of commitment they need to have? And then to respond with those two games, every line, every play, It was a hoper. I hope that, I hope this were, and it's just this bullshit that just blows up in their face. Turnover city, softness, looking at each other. I thought you were going to go get, I thought what? No, pathetic. And where's the leadership? Where's the, hop on my back, boys. I'm going to show you how it's done. I'm going to set an example. I am just going to work and I am going to have a commitment to all the stuff that we talk about in the video and the pregame speeches and all that BS. I am going to be committed to that. I'll show the way. I'll blaze the trail. Follow me. We're creating an identity here. Nobody was even close to trying to be that guy. And that's frustrating because they've learned the lessons. They've had their asses kicked. They've had the disappointment. They've seen the movie. Can you stop trying to play hockey that way? You're not even close to good enough. And it's not a knock on them. Nobody's good enough to play that bullshit hockey and have success. Like, it's not like, how are these lessons still being learned? It's like raising kids where you're like, how many times have I told you not to do that? And you just do it again. Like, what are you thinking while you do it? And it's so frustrating because like time's ticking away and people are already going like, burn it down and you'll never win with these guys. And like, aren't they tired of the scrutiny? They saw what it looks like on Monday and they just, and it's not like, it's not luck, it's not bounces, it's not your opponent, it's your mindset and what you decide to do on the ice. And it is so clear that even the average hockey fan can see the difference between Monday and Thursday, and it's not even close. And I'm just, I think there's some solace in the fact that Craig Berube's there, but does he have to like, does he have to kick garbage cans? Like, you got to be worried about losing the team if you start to turn on them, and like, how hard do you got to demand this accountability? But something has to happen. Like, well, it's just so frustrating why the guys in that room allow that to happen. And then their little bullshit interviews of, well, you I mean, like Austin didn't even know what Chief said to him on the bench there. He's like, yeah, I can't really remember what happened on the ice or what he said, but it's like, what? Did you just say that? I was shocked. So not even close to good enough and a huge step back in a lot of ways. But it's early. Can you figure out what went wrong and channel it and get back to Monday night's hockey? We'll see.
Zero conviction. I think your analysis is bang on. Tim Manto writes in, it's going to be a purgatory season. JT and Marner contracts can't be moved unless it's either free agency or an urgent trade deadline. It's a good point. Zach Phillips, our main man, did a great job last night on After Dark. Check him out on Saturday. A big one against the Boston Bruins. Gave the C to the wrong kid from Arizona. That's what Zach said.
He did, eh? Wow. No, I like nice guys much as the other, but like, I don't know, like, what are we gonna change here? Like with this power play, are Mitch and Austin attached at the hip? Like, can they only play with each other? Like, and now that this has happened twice, I think some changes are on the horizon. We'll see if they do some drastic stuff, but it's just an accountability thing. Like, to be Craig Berube and look at that locker room and be like, it would just be like, what are you guys doing? Like, where are your heads at? What are your expectations of the season? Like, how do you, I'm watching The Last Dance, Michael Jordan's thing again. I'm rewatching it because it's just such a good documentary. And like, there's Michael Jordan. He doesn't have to play as hard as he did. He could have still had a lot of success and had a Hall of Fame career without playing, but he did. And he made goddamn sure everyone around him had the level of commitment that he did. And then look at the special things that he did and the success he had. It's like these Leafs in this room. It's like, you have to commit to more than you're committing to. That was bullshit last night. Like, how do you not come to the conclusion at some point then maybe these guys don't value winning as much as you would think they would? Like, you think it goes without saying they want to win a Stanley Cup and have success, but how do they keep doing that BS that you watched? How do they keep playing that way that it blows up in their face? They've learned it a million times. Like I said, it's like an 8-year-old trying to teach them life lessons and how to like conduct themselves in public or around the house. Or how do you not get it after a while? How have you not seen this same thing play and be like, oh yeah, this is what happens when I approach it at this way? don't they get tired of losing and coming up short and having to answer all those questions? It's quite shocking. We'll see what all you can do is see what their response is on Saturday against a team in the Boston Bruins that's going to be, chomping at the bit to get a win. They're not happy where they are. So you better believe they're going to have their ducks in a row and be coming out, flying and rectifying their problems and righting their ship. So it's not like it's going to be an easy one, because they're floundering a little bit right now. Like there's no easy games in the NHL. I'm just frustrated at their, to go back to that bullshit again is just about inexcusable.
At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. I think that's the infuriating part for me too, and Leafs fans at wits end, because again, we've seen this movie, same old same, but more so to the fact that again, Monday, you come out with that type of performance, the city's riding high. It really felt like that was this team's Stanley Cup, because after that, they haven't shown, like the last two games, it's really felt like they expect everything to be given to them instead of going after it. Like, I think your analysis is so bang on, where it's like you watch the first 6 games, they were physical, they were intense, they were in the game, they started on time, and then like now, like, dude, I saw that fucking drop pass on the power play, dude, is going to lead to the demise of this podcast, I think, where I just have nothing else to add. That power play is so damn bad, but that damn drop pass is so predictable. I know you hate when I swear, but I'm just so tired of it. And they keep going back to the well, and they keep going back to the well. New guy comes in. They keep going back to these guys. It is not working on the power play. I've never seen a power play suck the life out of a building the way the Maple Leafs power play did last night. Like, it's atrocious. These guys have zero confidence with the puck. Everybody wants the puck. That's the issue in itself. And somebody's got to grab the balls of this team and take control right now, Rosie.
Yeah, somebody does. Like, where is this leadership? John Tavares, I don't think you're a stand up in the middle of the room guy, talk to everyone and give a real inspiring speech. I don't see it. Austin, I'll be honest, I don't see it either, but you'd think he could lead by example, but he wasn't. And it's not just like like if you weren't paying attention, you'd look at our pod and stuff and be like, man, Leafs fans are brutal. Like, there's no wonder it's hard in there. But it's not unfair for us to be this pissed off at them. And like that power play, it's just one guy with the puck and he's trying to do something. He's just winging it, man. He's just, whoa, can I dangle this guy or should I? And then he gets in trouble, and it's like this little through the lane, like under a guy's triangle spot pass to, I hope that guy's skating onto it. And then that guy's like, oh shit, my turn. There's nothing being done together. It's so clear and obvious. And every time a guy gets the puck, he's just kind of like coming in with some speed and chip off the wall. There's nobody there. Like, it's just a joke. It's a joke how bad that is. And their numbers are like 13 for 123. Like, you should be embarrassed, man. You should be embarrassed when you get your paycheck to be like, I'm supposed to be a guy that can, like, shouldn't they be the number one group that's pissed about that is doing everything to rectify it, that wants to right the ship more than anybody? And sometimes it doesn't feel like that. It just doesn't look like it. I mean, I'm a big body language guy, facial expression, you listen to their tone and stuff, and it just doesn't seem like it's as unacceptable to them as it is to everybody else, which is even more infuriating.
The thing that pisses me off too is they continue to play down to their opponents. I thought all the big boys were dreadful, like awful last night. Marner, Nylander, the turnover that leads to what, with the 4-1 goal, the 5-1 goal was like despicable. You make so much money. Matthews felt like he was out there for like a kid's skate. Like it felt like he was so disinterested. His mind was elsewhere and not focused. And like you look at the last 2 games specifically, like number 1 C on Columbus is Sean Monahan. You're Austin Matthews, 69 tucks, and that's who's shutting you down. Then you look at St. Louis, and maybe they're galvanized by losing Robert Thomas, one of their best players, but Braden Shen's their 1 C, like a veteran in Braden Shen, and they just don't have the depth Toronto does in terms of star power, and they had their way with them. Like Jake Neighbors had a night, like the Leafs had zero answer, zero jump, zero intensity. I really can't pick one guy that I was pleased with last night.
No, it's not. And I don't know if I mean, it's not even like they were absolutely on fire, but the bit of success they had at the beginning, playing the right way, it's just like such a lack of maturity.
Yeah.
to play like that on Monday, and then instead of going, oh, that's the formula, that's what we have to do every night, they go, oh, what a win. Now I can go out and dick around. And now we're so good. Look at the exclamation mark we put on that game on Monday. We did all the right things. Now I've earned the right to go and half-ass it a little bit and maybe not be fully committed to what we're trying to do here. And then every one of those guys is like that. And what do you get? Okay, you get Tuesday in Columbus. All right, little wake-up call, little wakey. Hey, guess what? You just got spanked by a garbage hockey team that you have no business getting spanked by, let alone losing to, especially when you just found the formula. All right, give him a pass. Come on in on Thursday at home. All kinds of reasons to be up for this one. Absolute same thing. Like, you came out the same. That was your effort level. Marner, Matthews, Tavares, Nylander doing that Euro half-ass fucking loopy-doopy, whoopy-doopy, hey, look at me, ooh, little saucy half-ass. It's complacent, and it's the opposite of everything that works in the NHL. And they've been doing it for years, and they have had so many opportunities to learn their lesson. So how can they keep coming with that? With Craig Berube behind them, like a dog ready to pounce, like demanding that it's done a certain way. Like, what do they expect, man? What do you expect to come out of a hockey game in the NHL when you play like that over and repeatedly? So many opportunities to learn their lesson, and they just don't, which is why the fan base gets so bloody frustrated.
Yeah, it's mind-numbing. I think killer instinct is another phrase I would use that this team just lacks. Like, something positive goes their way and they're content, and that's just not the way it should be, I think, in this day and age. And I also think it supports the thesis, at least my thesis, that if you're looking to re-sign Tavares and Marner in season, somebody should be fired. Like, this is something you push down the road and you look at how the season goes, and then you figure out what you want to do. Because the first time in 10 years, they're going to have a chance to have cap space, and they're going to have a chance to really remodel and reshuffle this roster. Because clearly it's the same old same as we've been talking about podcast after podcast after podcast the last couple of years. Vikas Patronus, thank you so much for the super chat. I think that the major issues at the core four have no intensity when it matters. Look at Florida. For example, Matthew Tkachuk, completely different. I know we talked about this a bit in our show chat last night, but do you want to chime in on that? Because that was my one thing. Like, I think inconsistency is the one thing they're going to try to work on. Like, one game to another, you don't know what Maple Leafs team is going to show up. But they need to be sort of dragged into that fight. And if people recall a couple years back when the Panthers traded for Matthew Tkachuk, there was some turbulence early on, right?
Yeah. Changes take time to be implemented, and you could, maybe that's one thing you could, fall back on and give them an excuse is they're adjusting to Craig Berube. But adjusting to Craig Berube is showing different things, showing that you're trying new things. And that was dismissing the fact that Craig Berube is there and is trying to implement certain things on that team. That was completely dismissing that and just doing what you want, which is, maybe it's hard to get up for the game today. Why? I don't know. Are they like passion level, intensity level, competitiveness, drive? Maybe they don't have enough of it. Maybe they've been blessed with too much talent. Maybe they've been told too many times they're unbelievable. Maybe they've been on the cover of too many magazines wearing friggin' dumb looking shit. They put more, it seems like they put more preparation into their earrings and their bullshit hats and their Coachella looking garbage than they do preparing for the goddamn hockey game. And sorry, I don't want to go down that road, but it's just, it's just like a Tkachuk. He leads the way. He blazes the trail and says, get behind me. I am going like a dog into this fight. I want so badly to win. It pisses me off so much to lose. I want to learn. I want to take every lesson that I'm given throughout a season and learn from it and adapt it to tomorrow. And it's just that leadership and that winning spirit that just is contagious. And he makes everyone else around him better. Who thought Sam Bennett was what he was in Calgary? Nobody. But he gets on a team with Tkachuk and says, oh my God, look at this formula. Look at this guy. Why do you think Michael Jordan was able to make everyone else around him so much better. He led the way, and nobody on the Toronto Maple Leafs is doing that. Mitch Marner sure as hell isn't. Austin doesn't do it. He's too quiet and passive at a lot of times. John's not the guy, obviously. Morgan Riley isn't that guy. They're all kind of passive. And that doesn't mean they have to be that way, but can you reinvent yourself? Can you be honest? Can you look in the mirror? Can you go sit down with the coach, talk to them? Can you watch video and say, what does this look like for me? And what does it look like for Matthew Tkachuk? Why does he have success and I don't? If you even give a shit to try and get to that level, it's got to be, you have to make changes. They're mental changes, they're physical changes. It comes from within. You decide on how hard you're going to compete. And nobody was competing anywhere close to as hard as you have to. I don't give a shit if it's game 7 or game 82 or game 1 of the finals. You have to compete at a certain level to have success. Keep in mind, everyone else on the other side is trying to do the same thing. These guys just think by lacing them up, they're going to win games, and it blows up in their face how many times. You're not that good. And it's too early to have that conversation about this group and all that stuff. But obviously you can put a whole bunch of quality ingredients that have the potential to make something really special into a bowl, and it can taste like shit. It doesn't always work together. These guys so far haven't worked together. That's noted. That's proven. So are they going to do something to change it, or are they going to keep like that yo-yo effect from Monday to Tuesday? It's just, I don't know another team in the league that can, maybe Edmonton, that can be that drastically good and then that drastically bad. It's a mental thing and a leadership thing, and it's, you got to get Craig to find a way to snuff it out of their DNA, man, because it's just so much more of the same BS. Like, I won't even get excited for this team if we're going to do this all year, because it's just not conducive to winning.
Jekyll and Hyde, do you have a chance to check out what Brad Marchand said yesterday?
Yeah, about his coach.
That was really good. Yeah. So he's been at it a bit, and the coach has been ribbing him a bit. And obviously Marchand's coming off a tough offseason, a couple different surgeries. But he said it's unfortunate how coaches are scrutinized over things like that. There's a lack of accountability nowadays because people can't handle the heat. That is such a bang on assessment, man.
Totally. It's pussyfooting around these younger kids where they've been told their feelings are the most important thing. Your feelings are what you choose for them to be. If a coach or if your boss at work kind of chews you out and demands a little bit better, you have options on how you're going to take that. You can sulk and you can go complain and you can say poor me. You can turn your back on the guy and start picking him apart and saying he's this and he's that. Or you can listen to it and say, what's he trying to get out of me? What's his job? What's his point of view? What can I do differently? Am I capable of doing this? Let me try that. Let me look around at other people that aren't in that situation. What are they doing? There's ways you can look at things. And Brad Marchand is a man, and he's a winner, and he's a leader. And the media is going to run and go, oh, were your feelings hurt? Were your feelings hurt when your coach yelled at you? He's like, that's a joke. Why would you, like, you are scrutinizing the coach for doing that. If I wanted to say, I didn't think it was real, everyone would be all over Montgomery for doing that. But Brad's a man, and he's going, what are you talking about? What I did was unacceptable. And he let me hear about it because there's an accountability level here that's conducive to winning. And that's why he did that. And it's unfortunate that people are going to scrutinize a coach over coaching hard. Your job is to get the best out of those players. No different than Michael Jordan. He got scrutinized a bit for being a hard ass and demanding too much out of the guys. But he knew that he had to do that to get a winning formula. Nobody on the Leafs roster is doing that to each other. They had to bring in a Craig Berube, and now his job is to do that. And his job just got a hell of a lot harder in the last half of a week.
Yeah, I think he's got to figure this out. Obviously, it's October 25th, but the Vultures already circling in Toronto. And of note, these are pretty much the prototypical starts for the Maple Leafs. Look back at the last couple of Octobers. So I know it's difficult, folks. We got to take a deep breath at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Before we get to Max Kerman, I want to get your thoughts on Joseph Woll's season debut. 4 goals on 26. Obviously, I was in the building. Surrenders a couple goals early on, but in general, Rosie, I thought Woll was actually pretty good. Like I think he kept them in the game. You need those saves sometimes, but I really can't assess his first start of the season because the team in front of him was just terrible.
Yeah. First of all, I didn't think I was going to be this intense on this show. I kind of fired myself up. But no, go back to the original. The sky is not falling. Okay, we're back on that track. But no, Walsey, I mean, it wasn't this storybook thing. It wasn't he didn't write the script where it was phenomenal. It just wasn't one of those nights for him. It wasn't terrible. It's not like we got big problems in there, but he didn't go in there and absolutely shut the door, stand on his head. Like you mentioned, he didn't have any help in front of him. Couple he probably would have liked to have back. Anytime a goaltender says there's a couple I would have liked to have back in the NHL, you're probably not winning that game, or at least the reason you won that game. Aside from that, there's times where he looked poised and made some big time saves. He's tracking the puck well at sometimes, and ultimately probably dusting a little bit of rust off of him right now. Not to mention the fact that you're testing out an injury in real time in competition, which is different than anything you're going to do on a fresh sheet by yourself with the goalie coach. So there's a little bit of that going on. Groins as well. A couple of those cross, crease flying saves. One of them was super nice highlight reel. You're in the back of your mind, you're kind of like, don't go on me to your groin. You're not sure. You've never really flown across in that position and seen the results of that. So a little bit of hesitation, I can imagine mentally, but no, he wasn't too bad. Give him another crack here, see if he can find his game. Ultimately, you're looking for that one game where he does everything right, gets the confidence, and starts that train moving, which Stolarz is already on.
Derek writes in, I'll put a few bucks in the swear jar for you guys. We need the 18 plus rants this morning.
Yeah, thanks. I don't mind when you do. I just need it to be for a reason, Nicholas. And I don't know. I feel like I try to only do it when there's a reason. And when I'm getting fired up and just want to go off, it's hard not to,
Do me a
it's hard.
favor. Go listen back to the show and tell me how you feel after the different shows.
I was hot. I got myself, I wasn't even, well, I wasn't looking forward to the show. I didn't go on the After Dark show yesterday. Didn't want to go on a rant, didn't want to be negative, but the more I talk about those guys and what I've seen this week, I get a little hot under the collar. But ultimately, all you can do is see how these guys respond. Saturday again, it's a big one. It's a Saturday night game. It's again, Boston's a bigger rival to us than Montreal has been in years, and they're kind of floundering a little bit. They have not had a very good start to the season, so they are going to look to rectify that against a team they've had a lot of success against. So it's another test for these guys, and we'll see how they approach it, man. If they play like they did on Monday, they'll beat Boston, but I really want to see who steps up, who starts the game, who sets the tone, who is working and driving and grinding to get that. I don't care if you've got 69 goals. You're not getting 69 goals the way you played yesterday. That's established. So where do you go from here, and who's going to step up and have the guts to be a leader in tough times? And that's all I can say about Saturday. Wait and see with that one, man, and see how they respond.
It just shows you the difference in the two markets. Like Boston's off to a 3-4-1 start, and I saw tweets about the hot seat being very, very warm or starting to warm up for Jim Montgomery, which, again, the Leafs start this way every year, and it's like, we're good with Sheldon Keefe. Let's move on to the next year and the next year and the next year. I don't know if it's a whole coaching thing. I think the players have a lot to do with it, but it just shows you accountability in the two different markets. Boston's like a staple of the league every year, man.
So you'd say it's a hotter seat to be in Boston than Toronto. Hey, you think it's cushy being the
Oh,
coach in the
yeah.
Maple
There's no
Leafs?
accountability with this team, man. All they care about is making money. We felt that way for so long. If they actually cared, we wouldn't see the same guys come back every year and expect a different ending. Albeit, again, I know people, and I've been aware of social media the last couple of days and last night specifically. The big issue with everything, and we talked about it all summer, Rosie, all these guys have no movement clauses. To the best of our knowledge, they didn't want to go anywhere. They're not going anywhere. Plain and simple, right? And now you have the ability with Tavares and Marner coming off the books to reimagine the team, whatever way you want to call it, retool. That's why I think it would be ludicrous to sign Tavares right now, to sign Marner to an extension. Like, what is the rush? I know those stories have been out there. What is the rush to make those decisions right now?
Oh, there shouldn't be a rush, man. It's like I said, you can take some whatever. Call Mitch Marner. Say he's a 100-point player this year. That's fine.
Have
He's
fun
an
in Chicago, Mitch. That's all I got to say. Have fun in Chicago with Bedard next year.
I know. I just you can't keep forcing a square peg through a round hole, right? And if you did extend these, for what reason are you extending them? You only extend people when you like what you see and you
Yeah.
believe that they are going to help you win. And whether you want to point the finger at one guy or the other or collectively as a group, they're not getting it done so far, not by any stretch of the imagination. They've won one playoff series in the first round since they've gotten here, since any of them
A
have put on a
decade.
So I don't even want to have that conversation, but they are on the roster right now and they are there right now. It's just like, I can't imagine that they don't want to win. Like, it sucks. Like, walking into that MasterCard Center, the Ford Performance Center, it's called now, I think, after a loss, it sucks, man. It sucks. The fans outside are, oh, tough one. Even the super fans are like, hey, man, like, it's just you walk in the doors and you walk right by the coach's room to start, and it's kind of like eggshells, and you're sitting there and you're having your breakfast and it's kind of quiet. No one wants to laugh or like yell across the room or anything. It's pretty somber.
Yeah.
You go out for practice. How's this going to be? Are we going to get bagged? Is this going to be a punishment? Learning lessons? You know, no one's happy and it sucks. And you go out to have your meals and stuff, and people might say stuff. It just sucks not winning in Toronto. It's not fun at all. I don't care how much money you're making. It makes the experience shitty. And then if you're winning, it's laughing up. Hey, Chief, how you doing? Throw me a bagel. How's so-and-so making a joke, playing a prank on a guy, having fun in practice, pumping the tunes before practice, playing ping pong in the room. Everyone's happy. It's so, how do those guys not want to win? You can't tell me they can't tell the difference between winning and losing. Why isn't it worth their while to do things right? I still can't put my finger on it.
Well, it's up to everybody involved, Craig Berube, to figure this out. Again, it's important to highlight. It is October 25th. We're 8 games into this season, but I truly understand. I know I said to relax and chill out on social media, but I get it. People are just tired of the same BS. We've seen this rodeo so many different times, brought in a new coach, and it is concerning, truthfully, because you see this in October. We saw it last October. We saw it in November. We see it every month. You get hints along the way of the 82-game slate where it's like, oh, yeah, their true colors come out. And it is concerning. We got to get to our interview here. The following interview is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers. Get custom ring building delivered in less than 4 weeks with the Charm Masterpiece program and an unbeatable pricing policy. Charm Diamond Centers is proudly Canadian-owned and operated since 1972 with more than 85 locations across the country through Charm and their sister brands. For more information, go to charmdiamondcenters.com. So as mentioned, we caught up with Max Kerman. I should mention as well, Rosie, we're giving away a pair of tickets to a date of your choice on the tour. To be eligible to win, folks, all you have to do is be following the Leafs Nation on social media. So X at TLNDC and on YouTube as well at the Leafs Nation 401. Additionally, send us your favorite Arkells song plus your all-time Maple Leafs favorite player, and we'll pick a winner. It's as simple as that. I'm going to go with Leather Jacket and Jay Rosehill. That's my answers.
What's the second part that I was involved in? Leafs player?
Yeah, all-time favorite Leaf.
I'll go with Come to Light or Knocking at the Door. I'll go Knocking at the Door just because my kids are in love with it. I probably listened to it a million times. It never gets old. And we are going Darcy Tucker.
Love that. We love Darcy Tucker. I would love one day to get Darcy Tucker on this podcast. We have been trying, folks, rest assured. One day on Darcy Tucker. For now, we hear from Max Kerman. Max Kerman from the Arkells back in the mix here. Max, how's it going, buddy?
I'm doing great. You know, we have an extended summer right now, so it's beautiful. I love it.
Pretty big tour here, the Big Feelings Tour. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, you know, we started in Halifax and Moncton, and we got our hero, Joel Plaskett. He was opening up the show. So to be able to watch him play every night was such a treat. And in Moncton, there were these two people in the crowd that were wearing like wedding attire. And it turns out they got married in the afternoon and then just rolled right into the show. And we brought them on stage for our first dance. And yeah, we hit Kingston and Ottawa and London next. And there's stuff going to happen there too. Like every time we go through any of these cities, like stuff happens. And yeah, I think there's you mentioned your son likes knocking at the door. There's a school in Ottawa that plays knocking at the door in the band class. There's like 40 kids with ukuleles and guitars and drums. So we've been talking to them. Maybe we'll do something with them. I don't know.
That's pretty awesome. That song's got so many different layers and elements to it, man. I usually overplay a song, I get tired of it, and for years that one, my kids were driving to hockey or whatever, and it is nonstop, man, and they love it. So I think I'm gonna bring my 8-year-old. His first concert's gonna be you guys in Calgary, so we're looking pretty forward.
Bring him. It's pretty family friendly. I swear a little bit. but I can't help
So do
myself.
I. Don't worry.
Okay, cool.
Nothing wrong with that. Max, take us behind the scenes. You guys put on a kick-ass show. I've seen you guys a couple times, but
Mm.
behind the scenes of like the creation of a tour, I'd always like to
Mm.
know like what goes into that.
Well, we love putting together a show because it keeps it from being bored on our end. Because you can kind of tell when a musician's going through the motions, so we want to make the show a little bit more theatrical, I think, than most rock and roll bands, at least. So it's like, okay, what does the opening moment feel like? Because that's my favorite moment when I go to a show. I want to know, like, how is the band walking onto the stage? So on this tour, we tried something new, and like, how do you transition from the first song into the second song? What are the ebbs and flows of the show? Like, when do you do an acoustic number? We have this Arkells branded payphone. It's like an old Bell payphone that we have stationed in the middle of the crowd, like on a riser, and we kind of interact with that during the show. We have like park hand lights. There's like a lot going on, and it's funny because the rest of the guys in the band and our four-piece horn section are like, bro, we actually have to play the instruments. I'm like, no, but we got stuff, we got places to go. We got to be interacting with people. Because I play a bit of guitar in the show, but I could kind of care less if I'm being honest. I'm just like, all right, what's going on out there?
Makes sense. Well, being on tour, I mean, I know what it's like to be on the road with a hockey team, and I'm always curious about, you musicians. What are some of the things about being on tour that you got to prepare for? Some of the positives, some of the negatives.
Okay, I'll give you one of each. I like the structure, and I don't want to compare myself to a professional athlete, but I am very regimented about my day when we have a show night. And I have to, if we're on stage at 9, I have to have my like dinner at like 4:15, or else I'll be like pissed because you want to be like eating and peaking at the right time. And I need to make sure I have 8 hours of sleep. I know none of this sounds like rock and roll stuff. Everyone's like assumes it's like Motley Crue or something, but it's like for me, if I tried to live like that, I would be like done after night 2. I just like don't have like the pipes to be able to like drink and like run on 2 hours of sleep. So I have to be good, like an athlete, I think. The negative is just lobby call, so it's like we're on a tour bus most of the time, but occasionally like we're staying in hotels, meeting in the morning. And I don't want to name names, but we did have 2 members of our band that were 30 minutes late for a lobby call in Halifax, and everyone's just waiting for them to get in the damn vehicle. And so, but that's just typical band stuff.
Favorite
Remind
venue to play in?
Favorite venue to play? Ooh, I mean, we've had some amazing nights at Budweiser Stage, in Toronto. But I mean, there's so many great venues. It kind of depends on the time of year. Sometimes it's amazing to play like in a small little club in the middle of February. On the last Canadian tour, we announced a surprise show in Saskatoon because the Saskatoon wasn't on the tour, but we were coming through town. So we played for like, I think it was like 150 people, and the show sold out in like 10 seconds or something. But it was just like that might have been my favorite show of the tour, and we were playing a lot of big rooms that one. So it really kind of just depends on the spirit of the room. But yeah, I mean, like it could be anything. There's so many good venues out there.
And do you notice a difference in venue from, obviously sound's a big thing when you're a band and playing music? Do you notice the different acoustics in the different buildings? I know some have good reputations, bad reputations, and if so, is Scotiabank, anything about what it does with sound? We've been talking about that a lot this season.
You know what? I've been to lots of shows at Scotiabank. Some sound amazing, some don't sound great, and a lot of that has to do with just who the front of house sound engineer is. And one thing I'm very proud of, our front of house sound engineer, Chris Kaplinski. He gets like rave reviews from everybody in the industry. So when you talk to the promoters or you talk to other sound engineers, everybody's like, you got a bang and mix, and it's because Chris is out there doing the dials. On our end, though, it's funny because we're just listening to ourselves through in-ear monitors. It's like being on a TV broadcast. Like you're just like listening to yourself that way. So I have no sense as to like how it sounds out there. I just know how it sounds in my own ears. And each guy in the band has their own mix in their own ears. So I'm having a great time all the time, as long as my ears are sounding fine.
How often you get to games at Scotiabank Arena?
Ooh, I pretty often. I get my schedule's so up in the air, but I seem to get invited a lot. I guess I'm an okay +1. I know some rich guys with like good seats, and so whenever they text me, I'm like, I'm in.
I don't doubt it. Well, speaking of being on tour and following the Leafs, do you get a chance to watch the games? And if so, what do you think about the start to these Maple Leaf season?
It's good. I mean, I'm excited to see what the new coach does. Apparently, he's a bit more of a hard ass, right? That's what I was reading in the paper.
Little bit.
Yeah, there's a little more defensive accountability. That's
Mhm.
one of the things we're talking about.
That's a
I
word.
don't know. I mean, It's so funny because there's already like a goaltending, like who's gonna be the goaltender this season. It's like it feels like every Leaf season, it's like a very similar narrative. It's like some star is slumping. We don't know who the goaltender ought to be, and the team's gonna be good. And I'm just like, let's get to the playoffs and cross our damn fingers.
It's so true. Like every year, it's like an 82 game trial run to get to the Stanley Cup playoffs. But so far, so good. Fingers crossed that continues. Who's your favorite player on the team? Is it an easy one like Austin Matthews? Who do you enjoy watching?
Well, I know a few of them a little bit. Like I know Morgan Riley a little bit because I know Tessa, his wife, and Morgan's a super nice, down to earth, great guy. Max Domi, I've hung out with a few times, and his reputation is like nicest guy around, and that's my experience too. And also identify with him as a Max. There's not too many of us out there. Mitch Marner, lovely guy. His wife Steph, I know a little bit as well. I don't know Austin though. I'd like to know Austin though. I'm very curious about Austin. He seems like he's a bit of a man of mystery, you know?
I could see that too. He's got his own thing going on, and I'm sure you could creep your way in there if you wanted to. But
Yeah. Women
speaking of
go
the,
nuts for him, you know? It's always
oh,
interesting. They go
he's a
crazy for him.
he's a hard guy to pin down, I imagine. But when you were growing up, speaking of players, we just had the chance to interview Matt Sundin, and we
Mm.
dropped that here this morning. Obviously, a fan favorite for a long time. What was your guy when you were growing up, being a
Well,
Maple Leafs fan?
well, I did love Matt. I just read about his book. I get the Globe and Mail delivered to my house every morning, so I read the
Ah,
paper, and I know that he's got a new book, Home and Away, talking
yeah.
about shout out to that book, Home and Away. So it looks cool. So yeah, I love Matt Sundin. Obviously, Doug Gilmore. I met Doug a few times. Doug's like come to shows and stuff, and he's a really nice guy. But a little known I think he's a defenseman, Rob Pearson. On the Leafs in the like early to mid 90s. He happened to live in a house behind my house in downtown Toronto. And like he gave us old game sticks, and we'd like knock on his door, and he was like probably like, will these kids stop annoying me? Because I probably was like 8 or 9 at the time. But he was always really nice to us. But yeah, I mean, there's who else is there? I don't know. I've gotten to know Paul Coffey a bit
Yeah.
over the years, and I've said this recently. Paul just sends me text messages every time Arkells are on the radio. And so he just takes a photo of his dashboard, and it's just the song playing. So I just have like a stream of text being like, why 108? Knocking at the door. Why 108? Come to late. I'm like, thanks, Paul. Thanks, Paul. And we were playing with Joel Plaskett in Halifax. He's like, love Plaskett. Happen Now. What a song. I'm like, that's my favorite Plaskett song too.
Too cool.
Yeah.
Well, Kyle Dubas, you were close to him a
Mhm.
little bit, weren't you? He's moved on to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Are having a bit of a struggle fest there. Do you keep in touch with him, or
Oh
is
yeah, no, I love Kyle. I have so much respect and admiration for Kyle. And yeah, no, we absolutely keep in touch. And it's funny because I'm in a couple group chats with them, but most of it isn't hockey related at all. It's like some combination of like politics and I think you should leave sketches. Do you know
sounds
that
like an
show? I think you
interesting
should
one?
leave. Yeah,
Yeah.
Kyle likes that show.
How about Nicky Nurse?
Oh yeah, you know what? I was just texting with Nick this morning because the Raptors are in town. The 76ers are playing the Raptors in a couple days to open the season, and yeah, I hung out with Nick. He had a golf tournament for his charity in Iowa, his hometown, Carroll, Iowa. So Nick said, "I want to play a set, and Max, you have to organize it." So we went down. A few musician buddies went down to Carroll, Iowa, which is like flying through Chicago, get to Des Moines, an hour and a half drive to this golf course. He's from a town of 900 people, and we jammed. I don't really golf, so I just hung out. But yeah, but Nick's great. Nick's amazing.
Hmm. Well, I mean, we talk all the time on this show about the Maple Leafs and what their goals are. Ultimate goals, obviously, the Stanley Cup. As a band, what are your goals? What are your aspirations? What are you reaching towards as a band when you're at the stage that you're at?
That's a great question. Um, and I think I've been thinking about this a little bit lately, and it actually again because I think there's a lot of actually similarities between being a band and being on a team because a band is a team sport. It's like everybody has their own sort of like responsibility, and there's the drummer back there who's got to hold it down like the goaltender, and like there's me in the front who's got to score some goals, and then there's that people got to set me up, right? Like there is, I think, and I say this as being like a lifelong sports fan, where I really see the division of labor in a very similar way. And I guess to answer your question though, it's like you can dream about like, oh, wouldn't it be great to sell this many tickets or to get this many streams or like have these sort of like goals in the future. But the only thing you can actually do is be present in the day. And you know this as an athlete, like it's like you can't just say like I want to win the Stanley Cup. Like who cares about saying that? You have to like go, what am I going to do today? So for me today, it's like okay, I'm thinking about some new songs. I love thinking about new songs. I'm thinking about how are we going to make the show in Kingston, in Ottawa, and London like really good this weekend. And like and there's like a 10 phone calls related to that like this morning about like that present moment. So yes, I don't know. I think the other thing about it is like enjoying it, I think is really important. I think like finding ways to feel invigorated by it because the bands that don't stick around are the bands that are over it and are kind of done with dealing with each other. And like you need to have like youthful vigor in your work, even if you're a 40-year-old or a 50-year-old or a 60-year-old. Like the people that actually like stick around are like people that have that same sense of like like go that they had when they were like 19 years old. So that's my TED talk. Yeah.
I love it. Max, you're the absolute best. Thank you so much for doing this and enjoy the tour, man.
Thanks. Always a pleasure to talk to you guys.
There you have it, Arkells frontman Max Kerman. And if you're at the November 2nd show in Calgary and you bump into one Jay Rosehill, ignore him completely.
Come say hi. Yeah, good guy. Obviously, that's why. That's what we said, and that's what you saw. Good, solid guy, and part of a pretty wicked band. Check him out if you ever get the chance.
I got a bone to pick with him, though. He was on Coming In Hot, our Resident Sens podcast, and they asked him, like, are you a Leafs fan? And he tiptoed around the question. I don't like that, Max. You're a Leafs fan. Just say it loud, say it proud. I don't care how shit this team is sometimes.
He's probably trying to keep everybody happy.
I think he's wearing a Senator's hat, too, man. That shit pisses me off.
Yeah.
But thank you to Max Kerman for hopping on the podcast. We love him. The Arkells, just tremendous. Been a couple times in person. They put on a really, really good show. Again, Rosie's going to check that out. Again, we're giving out tickets. But again, just final thoughts. I think we spent long enough. We're looking ahead now. The game in Boston, I think, is fascinating. No brainer to start Stolarz first and foremost, right?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, I'll just leave. I went off today. Frustration, obviously, to see that major steps backwards for the Toronto Maple Leafs this week, which is just flabbergasting because we thought we took some pretty massive steps forward on Monday. That being said, as bad as I've been on them, and rightfully so today, they've seen the formula. They have a guy behind the bench who will demand it and demand that accountability and will not just allow that stuff to happen all season long. So I still have faith that that group can get that garbage that they just had the last two games out of their game and leave it behind them and start to imprint a new identity on themselves. But it's up to them, and they're going to have to do a lot more than they have in the last couple of games. But like I said, I'm not writing these guys off.
The first 8 games of the last 4 years. Last year, 4-4-0. The year before, 5-2-1, 4-3-1, and 3-4-1. They're 4-4-0 through 8 this year. What happens in November? Everything changes, baby. We all know that's coming. We laugh about that, but it's true.
Yeah, it is, and this isn't the time of the season that wins you anything. But they need to. I want to see some consistency out of them this year. I want to see them channel that stuff. I want to. You can lose games, everybody does, but to lose them in the fashion that they've lost the last 2, I want that eliminated from their entire profile. Like I want that to be a thing of the past. And if you lose and make the mistakes trying too hard or over this or that, hey, we can live with that. But that crap from the last 2 games, I mean, Chief has got to get that out of the system. And those guys need to learn from it and be better. And if they are, they can have success in this city. And I just can't imagine anything being better than being headed in that direction.
Yep, you're so right. Consistency is the word we're looking for, and I just thought it brought back memories, man. Last night was my first time in the Maple Leafs press box in 4 years. The last time I was there was the final time I signed off before the pandemic. They beat Tampa in OT. I said, okay, we'll see you on Thursdays. The Leafs host the Nashville Predators. It never happened. Never got back to the arena. The other games I ended up doing were from home because of the pandemic. So it was bittersweet, but then it's unfortunate. The first game I go back, they just laid an absolute egg. At least I saw an OEL. I saw OEL's first goal as a Maple Leaf. That's my positive.
And with the local donut establishments picks that I got going, OEL is my
Yeah.
third pick. I got a 6-day streak going. One more. Free coffee and hot chocolate for a week, man. It's a big.
Who you got tonight?
Big. I haven't done it yet. My kid's at a PD day hockey thing. I'm gonna go pick him up and we'll pick them together. That one I give some leeway to him. He's got some power to make some picks.
Fair enough. Okay, it's time for the last call, brought to you by Bet365. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. So whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use code NATION, all in uppercase today. Why don't we look forward to the game against the Boston Bruins? It's simple for me. The big boys, they were awful against the St. Louis Blues. So give me an Austin Matthews anytime goal and give me a multi-point effort for Willie Nylander.
What about Mitchie?
No, thanks. They're playing Boston, dude. Do you think he's having a 6-point night?
No, I don't. I am going to take the Maple Leafs in the first period. They have to respond to that now. I have been I put so much faith in them last night. I thought they were just going to come out saying, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe what we did on Tuesday in Columbus." And I thought they were just going to come out hotter than a pistol. Did not work. I'll try one more time, and then I'm just about done any form of betting on these guys. But first period against Boston on Saturday, Toronto Maple Leafs.
Shout out to my guy Drew from Bet365, by the way. I ran into him last night on King Street West. He's an absolute beauty, man. Beauty, my guy, Drew. Anyways, that's going to do it for another week of Leafs Morning Take. It's been a whirlwind, man. It's been a roller coaster week. It started with Monday all the way till today. And again, we're going to get through this, Rosie, okay?
Yes, I know we will. We will be here on Monday. I forgot it's Friday. That's it. And that game is tomorrow. All right. Even more reason to be excited. Let's see what they do. Oh, I hope she's a different mentality on Monday, boy.
And coming up on Monday, we'll recap that Leafs-Bruins game. We'll also look ahead to another feature presentation for the Maple Leafs on Prime Monday Night Hockey as they visit Connor Hellebuck and the Winnipeg Jets. The Jets, by the way, 7-0-0. I'm calling it right now. The Leafs are winning that game Monday. They always beat Winnipeg.
That would be very leafy. See you then.
They always beat Winnipeg. Thank you to Max Kerman. Thank you to the chat. You guys, excellent as per usual. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit the LeafsNation.com. Many thanks to producer Vic for Jay Rosehill. I'm Nick Alberga. Talk on Monday. Take care. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.